Well, hey everybody. What's that old saying? May you live in interesting times. Well, I think these are all a little bit too interesting for most of us. And due to popular demand, because people are stuck at home with all of this self-isolating, states of emergency have been issued across the country, shelter at home through much of the United States. So people are having more time, obviously, online, not going out, which is a shame because we've had some nice spring weather. And, people really should be staying indoors, even though many are not listening. All right, I just wanted to let you know what's going on in the auto industry. For those that are not aware, pretty much the auto industry has ceased to exist when it comes to production. Car factories have stopped. There's a temporary shutdown for most, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to, ramp things up again here in the next couple of months, but we don't know. In addition to that, the car manufacturers have ceased to provide press cars. In Ontario, the heart of Canada with the biggest population, they basically had emergency order, meaning everybody had to stay home and only essential people were allowed out. And because of that, the car companies have shuttered all of their press cars, meaning there's really no cars to drive. I think maybe one or two brands, and I've got a bunch booked, but I still don't know about Kia. I still don't know about Volvo. I've had Lexus, Toyota, Porsche, you name it, all suspending their vehicles. So we're going to have to wait and see exactly what happens. All right, so that's what's happening. And because of that, I'm going to appeal to local car enthusiasts. If you have any unique cars that you own or have access to, and you would be okay with lending them to me for a day or even a half a day to do a video. Maybe you've got one of the first Tesla Model Ys. That'd be a cool video to do. Maybe you've got a unique sort of sports car or something funky. Let me know. Go to my website, motormouth.ca, and send me a note, and we might be able to hook up. I have access to industrial strength sanitizer thanks to one of the detailing companies. Okay, so let's get into, and by the way, the other thing I was thinking is because of this slowdown, car companies are going to be offering more and more incentives. I saw a Chevrolet ad last night on TV. It was 0% interest on a lease or a purchase. I can't remember what it was, but the only way to get the very, very best information on what all of the incentives are from car companies, whether they're 0% interest, whether they're massive rebates and so on, will be to go to carcostcanada.com and sign up using the username Motormouth to become an expert member. You have a bunch of extra free searches at your disposal. They won't time out. And what you're going to see once we cross into April 1 and into May 1, when the months take over, there's going to be even bigger and bigger incentives to move cars along. Okay, here we go. The next few weeks could be historic. With the worldwide assembly plant shutdowns, is the first time since World War II that there will be no private vehicle production in the United States, Canada, Europe, and Japan. Well, it very well could be. I mean, this is the whole problem with this, is we have basically a war effort at foot here to try and tackle the virus and to shut everything down. So that's like a military operation. And then layered on top of that, you've got Depression era unemployment. Once the unemployment numbers start to come in Canada and the US, with people being laid off, especially contract workers and people who work hourly wages, it could be as high as 20%. So you have a war footing and a Depression era added on top. It's not pretty. So I don't know what the answer to that is. Yeah, we have major production around the world unraveling. As I mentioned in the last live chat, the only bright spot I see is that slowly China is unraveling their restrictions, and maybe they're going to be getting more production back online. Tom says, hey, Zach, love your channel, super professional and interesting. What do you think is going on with Lexus? The NX is outdated. IS is also dated. Doesn't look like there is an electric car in sight. Well, on the electric car one, I can say, no, that is not the case. I was in Tokyo for the motor show. Remember the old days when Zach used to fly around the world going to car events? Seems like a different life, to be honest with you. That was only in November. at the Tokyo Motor Show, and they showed the Lexus concept pure electric vehicle. And they did say that a battery electric Lexus will be coming next year. This year or next year? Yeah, it would have been next year, which is 2020, because it was back in November. So there is something coming from Lexus. And they showed that futuristic concept that had the electric motors in each wheel, which was kind of interesting. Very futuristic vehicle, and typically they don't look like that. But yes, Lexus does have electrification plans. And on top of that, I don't think I would say that the NX is really badly outdated. They did a mild facelift about 18 months, 2 years ago, updated the vehicle, changed a little bit of the looks of the car, updated the suspension, which was too soft in my opinion. They made it better. And they've integrated new electronics within the last year for the infotainment system. So they have updated the car. The IS is a different story. I totally agree with you. I think it's really quite long in the tooth, and considering, you know, other brands are moving forward with new sort of compact sporty cars like Genesis, for example, with the G70, they definitely need to address this. On the Toyota side, they also have to address trucks. Like they've got a lot of very old trucks, be it the 4Runner, the Sequoia, not the Tacoma. The Tacoma is fairly new, but the Tundra. So a lot of things there to think about. All right. Bruno says, hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on the Genesis GV80? I saw the car at the Toronto show and I was really impressed by the quality. Do you think Genesis can fight against the big Germans? I was there too. I saw it at the Toronto show too. It was one of the last events I went to before everything got shut down. And I had seen the car in pictures, and I've obviously been in and touched and had interaction with the latest Genesis cars. However, the GV90 takes it to a whole other level. When you actually go with more of a critical eye, maybe somebody who is not really around a lot of new cars might not notice all of the things they do. But for me, things like the bottom of the door cards are all soft touch material. All of the plates along the back of the trunk are all chrome plated. Even in the trunk, trunk around the switches, there's collars around them that are chrome plated. They have soft touch open and close for drink holders in the third row. Like a lot of really small details. They went to those extra layers, and when you look at the fit and finish and the way it's put together, it's second to none. I am driving the new Hyundai Sonata this week. The fit and finish on that is excellent. When you get into the higher end vehicles, it really is something else. And are the German brands going to be on notice? Absolutely. I really do believe that the GV80 is going to be something that is going to get a lot of attention. And then when they bring out the GV70, which is the compact utility, that's when things are really going to get interesting. I think the design is good. The fit and finish is excellent. Genesis and Hyundai and Kia are right at the very top of quality scores. So look out. They're on a warpath, and they're going to take a lot of people by surprise. Hey, Zach, what would you recommend for a manual car with automatic emergency braking for under $25,000, used or new? I think the one that comes to mind that has emergency automatic braking as a manual is the Honda Civic. Off the top of my head, that's the one that pops to mind. Please double check with that. And the other one might be the Volkswagen Golf, but please double check. Typically, forward collision warning and autonomous braking are not included with manual cars. They can do the forward collision warning with a lot of them, but not the automatic braking. I think Honda is the one you want to go to. And there's some great Civics out there, for sure. Hey, Ronaldo, I have followed you for the past 5 years, and I must say you are originally yourself, and this is amazing, especially in a world where media tries to shape what they say in an attempt to please everyone. Well, thank you for that, Ronaldo. I appreciate that. Oh, by the way, I want to bring it up again, and some people are really surprised by this. So this channel, Motormouth, has over 73 million views, which I think is an amazing accomplishment. Pat on my back. So a lot of people have seen these videos. Only 10% of the people that watch the videos subscribe to the channel. And I really don't understand that. I'm going to be calling it out more often because I think that maybe people aren't aware. So if there's 100 people watch a video, only 10 of them are subscribers. You multiply that by hundreds of thousands. If more people clicked the subscribe button then we would definitely get more people subscribing and help my channel out. And please, one of the things I can ask you, especially in this time where things are looking perilous for the auto industry, is please tell your friends and share this channel and get them to subscribe. That would really help me out a lot, and I appreciate that. So Ronaldo, over to you. If you could get a few of your buddies to sign up, that'd be great. Zach, my favorite car channel Q&A. Well, once again, people, you're flattering me. I don't know what to say. I don't ask questions all the time, but I always tune in. Thank you and all the best. Well, I appreciate it. I got to tell you, I got some pretty crappy news today. Actually, yesterday and today from contracts that I have where I make my money. And two of them are fairly substantial for me, and both of them have been suspended. So basically, outside now of YouTube, this is really my only source of getting some revenue. The other main contracts that I have are drying up. And that's the case for everybody. Hey, come on, listen, if you're managing a restaurant or you own a restaurant, you're in dire straits and people are worrying how they're going to pay their mortgage. I will be fine there. Don't worry about that. But this is a real kick in the nuts for everybody, including me, to get emails saying, that's it, we're suspending business, is tough. So please, once again, tell your friends and get them to subscribe. Hey, Zach, you drove the Subaru XT with the CVT and the Yukon. What did you think of the higher horsepower engine with the CVT? Rubbery? Okay. Well, the interesting thing is that Subaru does a pretty good job with the way they calibrate the CVT and the turbo together. So when you put your foot on the throttle with a typical CVT, you get this motorboat effect where the engine makes all this noise and then a lot happens and then the car finally starts to catch up. It's like a boat coming out of the water and then finally whoosh, away it goes, right? Now, the great thing is at speed under power, a lot of that deficit of waiting for the car to get going is done by the turbocharger. So they seem to spool up the turbo and get more power into the engine and before the transmission catches up. So it's a nice combination. And I encourage, and I wish they still had the XT in the Forester because that was a killer application. They had the, what was the name of the transmission? They had the CVT, but the higher performance version one with the turbocharged engine, dynamite package. So this is actually quite good. And if I was buying an Outback, it would be the one that I would get. And I love the interior. I think it's got that sort of classic Subaru appeal. It looks like a Subaru. It's got a nice interior, and that's the one I would get. If you can afford it. Obviously, things are changing daily. Hi, Zach. I work in sales at a dealership in the Lower Mainland. Obviously, I do need the income, but I'm afraid of COVID-19 and fearful for my elderly parents. Why aren't dealerships closed? Well, Jack, it's coming. You see it in Quebec. You see it in Ontario. Basically going to essential services. People who work and need to work are the ones that are out. And it's the case in Ontario. They've shut everything down. It's the case in Quebec. Everything's shut down, which impacted me because now all of the car companies that are based there are shutting everything down when it comes to press cars, which is really a shame. It is probably going to come. I think that they're trying to appeal to people's good nature to stay home and do the right thing. Fortunately, we've had some rainy weather in the last day or so. For those that aren't aware, we have a typically long, rainy, cold, dreary kind of gray winter here on the West Coast. And then the last 10 days, it has been beautiful, sunny, not a cloud in the sky weather, temperature in the mid-teens, around 65 degrees, say, Fahrenheit. And everybody after that long, dreary winter has been out, which is the worst possible thing during this. So hopefully we're going to get some wetter weather and people will stay indoors. 2020 Volkswagen GTI, you think it's smart to buy or will I have reliability issue later? No, I think the GTI is a proven entity. If you're not aware and you're not following the GTI introduction, there will be a new GTI coming in just over a year from now, a year and a half from now, probably in September 2021. I don't think I have any issues recommending it for reliability, but it's going to be now, in a year from now, it's going to be the last model. This is a follow-up on the same kind of thing. I've heard that the Mark 8 Golf is going to be the last generation, and then they'll be replacing with ID3. Any thought on that? Love the video and keep up the great work. No. So you're not following along. If you go on to the channel and search Volkswagen Golf, you will see that, oh, sorry, you're saying Mark 8. Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to get rid of the Golf altogether. Sorry, I thought you meant the Mark 7. The ID3 is coming in Europe this summer. The ID4 is coming when we get into next year here in North America. That's the small utility. But is this going to be the last Golf? I don't believe so. I mean, a Golf typically lasts about 7 years in the marketplace, and there is always going to be a market for gasoline cars in certain marketplaces. I mean, we're not going to, as much as people want to promote the fact that we're all going to be driving, I mean, everybody's going to be driving an electric car by 2030, it's not the case. We have, I saw a stat recently, what is it now? It's not new car sales, because new car sales, electric cars, in some jurisdictions are getting, you know, around 2%, depending whether there's incentives or not. But if you actually look at the overall number of vehicles on the road, that's all of the cars, and then you factor in electric vehicles, it's a tiny, tiny fraction of overall vehicle drivership or cars that are on the road. So yes, there's still going to be a market for internal combustion engines in the future. Yale says, hey Zach, what do you think the chances are of virtual car shows so we could still see the new models and concept cars to take our mind off this pandemic? Well, there were, I mean, if you're not aware, the Geneva Motor Show, some brands did that, of course, because it's centralized in Europe and the big brands are really consolidated to three. You have BMW, Daimler, which is Mercedes-Benz, and then the Volkswagen Group, which captures a lot of the other brands, mostly premium brands. They did a lot of these virtual releases. I think it's probably, if this does not let up, and we're all still hunkered down inside by the fall, yes, that'll happen. I just can't see how that can actually possibly happen. I just don't see a way forward for us all to make no money for the long term. You already hear the President of the United States saying, we're going to revisit this and we're going to maybe get some people going back to work. I'm going to give you a little education on what is called herd immunity, okay? When you have 70 to 80% of the population that has either been given a vaccine or they have been exposed to the virus, then you create what's called herd immunity. So you get it, but I've already been exposed to it, therefore I have built up an immunity to whatever it is, whether it's chicken pox, mumps, rubella, whatever it is. In this case, it is this COVID-19. What we're doing now is we're sheltering everybody in place, which means that there's going to be a large section of the population that has not been exposed to the virus. So when we all come out from our homes in whatever time frame it is in the next few months, it could all come back again, and we'd be doing this all over again. There is a theory, just hear me out here. I know a lot of people are going to say this is crazy, but the theory is if you let a lot of young people under 30 years old who have a very, very, very slight chance of becoming severely ill, most young people under 30 will get flu symptoms, they'll be off work, they'll have typically like a bad cold, and then they get back to it. Once that has happened, they now have immunity to this virus. So you could start to build the herd immunity by letting more people who could get the disease and recover from the disease without infecting people who are older. How you isolate seniors from those young people who are getting the disease needs to be figured out. But that's the only way I see us moving forward on this. And I think that's probably what the president in the US is leaning towards, is allowing some people to get out into the workplace, and if they get sick, they're probably going to be fine. We'll have to wait and see. Mark my words, that's what's coming. And I'm no doctor. My dad, by the way, just so you know, my dad ran a medical newspaper for 30 years. He was the editor of a newspaper called the medical post. So he's the one who filled me in on how herd immunity works. All right. We got way off topic there. Sorry, guys, it jumped around on me again. I got to find out where I was. Okay, here we are. What are your thoughts on the new 911 Turbo and the new E-Card Porsche Turbo S? Can't remember the name. I'm not sure what you mean. Hey, listen, anything with 911 and turbo on the back is, sign me up. I mean, what's not to like? What's not to like? It's got monster power. Hey, Zach, I test drove the Stelvio Sport before the pandemic. Salesman said huge discounts, but warned that Alfa will be out of Canada soon. Is true? Is buying a Stelvio a smart buy? Impressive SUV. It is an impressive SUV. And Alfa is not going to be out of the Canadian market. In fact, I have some inside intel. I can't tell you where I got it, but they're going to be doing a major push to sort of relaunch the brand, because you might not be aware that they've got all new interiors for the Stelvio, and there's all kinds of other things that they're adding into the car, and for the Giulia, and the Stelvio. So no, I think they're going to do a relaunch of the brand. They're going to try and get it going. So that's why you need to sign up for Car Cost Canada and become an expert member. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH in there. You get extra searches, and when you're ready to start searching, those searches don't expire. You can start to put in, and you'll see the incentives, the rebates, the discounts that are on that car. That's the best way to do it. Delta Echo Echo, DEE. D, I guess your name is D, is that right? D, Delta Echo Echo. When is the best time to get a good deal on a car? Well, you have a bunch of times, really. When a brand new model is being introduced, so you have a car that's been made for 5 or 6 years, then they come out with an all-new version. That's when they discount the old model. At the end of a calendar year, when a car is going to click over and now be officially 1 year older. So last year at 2019, when it went into January, February, those cars were now technically a year old. And when there's hardship in the economy, you know, during the Great Recession, if you had a steady job, you're a firefighter, you're an ambulance driver, you're a school teacher, you're a civil servant, you're gonna get that check, you're a senior that has fixed income and a pension and all those things. If you are one of those people where you know in 2 weeks someone's gonna drop money in your account, hell yeah, this is gonna be a great time to buy a car over the next 2 months. There's gonna be all kinds of deals. And especially when the factories start booting up again and production is coming online, they're going to have to get cars off the lots. That's when you're going to get a good deal. So those are the best time to buy cars. Hey, Zach, I'm a big fan of Mazda. Love their driving dynamics, interiors, and reliability. But the new Mazda 3 has had poor sales figures, even worse than the previous year. I have in the can a review of the Mazda 3, and through the review, you'll see it when it comes out soon, because I don't have any access to new cars, is I went through that whole process and said, why isn't this car selling as well as the previous model? It's now got all-wheel drive. It's got some pretty stunning looking design. It's got beautiful interior. I don't know. I asked actually a lot of questions in the video, but it's utilities, man. It's utilities. People are just buying up those utilities. And I think that maybe they went a little too far with the design to the point where it encumbers some usability, outward visibility from the rear seats and outward visibility from the rear window. Just a couple of things to think about. Zach, what is your actual name? Give us at least your first name anyways. What's your most anticipated non-gasoline powered car? I love your fan of more than 2 decades. Well, thanks for that, Tom. What's my actual name? Well, Tom's, getting to some news here. Zach Spencer is fake. I mean, I'm real, but I made the name up. When I moved to Vancouver in 1991, that's a long time ago. It's almost 30 years ago next year, to put a brand new radio station on the air here. I used to work in radio, called Z95. When the station first went on the air, every single person that was hired had to change their name. And so Back then, anybody named Zach was like 5. And one of my best friends, Howie, who's Jewish, said, my little brother, Zachy, which is Zachary, by the way, is a sort of traditional Jewish name, said, my little brother, Zachy, I like his name. And I was like, and that's how I came up with it. So he said to me, Zach, and the radio station was Z95, and both start with the letter Z or Z. And that's how I came up with it. But it is fake, and I'm not telling you my real name. There you go. It's nice to have a fake name because nobody knows my business, if you know what I mean. Any news or inside info on the next generation WRX STI? Not that I can share, but it's going to be fantastic, and it's about time. The car really is getting old. I had a chance to drive a WRX, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago. I didn't do a review on the channel. I just had a chance to drive it, and it's showing its age. There's going to be some good deals on that if you don't mind driving that car when they do announce the new one. The great thing is all of the Subarus built on the new global platform are so much better, so it should be fantastic. Hey Zach, have a 17 Accord. I was wondering about the direct injection carbon buildup and tried to find out if Honda uses a system like Toyota's D4S. Have you spoken to Honda engineer about this? I don't believe they do, but here's my advice to anybody about any specific car. There is a web forum for every model of car on the planet pretty much. Antique cars, new cars, used cars, doesn't matter. So what I want you to do is type in Honda Accord web forum or chat room, and you will go in there and there'll be all of these threads about your Honda Accord. Now don't worry, because it's really only people that have negative things happening with their car that post. Nobody ever starts a post and says, my car's great, I love it. No, they always complain, this isn't working, that's not working. So when you start reading these things, you think, oh my God, this thing's a piece of crap, it's gonna fall apart. Not the case at all. What you'll do is you'll go into the search tool and type in carbon buildup, direct injection. It does not have a system like the D4S, but that is where you'll get information from other people that own the same car, okay? So I don't have any specific information to give you, but that's where you can find the information. And apparently we all have a lot of time on our hands to stay at home and search the internet. Here's a question. I bought a new 2019 Audi A4 and plan to keep it for years. Is it a mistake to not get an extended warranty for after the first 3 years? I was wondering if the repairs will make the car a financial liability. Well, Stephen, here's the first couple of things. It's got a 4-year warranty to start with, so that's fine. You do not need to buy the warranty now. And I don't ever encourage people to buy it when the car is brand new. You want to get the warranty in play for when the car's just about to end warranty. So you can speak to your dealership and speak to Audi and find out, because a lot of brands will allow you to put the car through their shop and bring it up to basically what they have as their certified pre-owned specification and buy an extended warranty for 2 more years. So that'll get you to 6 years. And you know, most people after 6 years maybe starting to think it's time to move on. When you're coming towards the end of that initial 4-year bumper to bumper or standard warranty you get with your Audi, then you want to ask the dealer 2 things. One is, do you want to do the 2-year sort of certified extended warranty, or find out if there's an aftermarket insurance company that will sell you a warranty for several thousand. It's not going to be cheap, but you can get a much longer warranty, well past 6 years. So if you really plan on keeping your car for the long term, that's what I would suggest. But don't buy it now. Wait till the warranty's almost done. Tommy Olson said, love the new GLB. Thank you very much. Gave a nice donation there to the channel. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. It's very nice of you. Bruce says, every new vehicle review I watch concludes that the new design is better than the previous. Come on, some have to be poorer. Well, here's the thing is that it's really tricky when you review new cars because there really aren't that many turds out there. I mean, most new cars are pretty good, and you really have to start looking at, you know, how does it fit in the market? Is there another car that maybe does something a little bit better? For example, I'm driving the new Sonata this week. It's very different looking on the outside. There are certain angles of it I think look really good. Other angles, it's not. But then again, that's not for me to decide. I will point it out and say, it's different. Do you like it? Do you not like it? But That's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What I will say is the interior is fantastic. They did a great job. But yeah, you know, most new cars are better than the cars they replace because there's new technology. And cars today are built better than they ever have been. Like people say, I wish they made cars like they used to. No, they weren't safe. They didn't last as long. They rusted out, on and on and on. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, you see cars broken down on the side of the road all the time. When was the last time you saw a car on the side of the road with the hood up, broken down? It hardly ever happens. So no, I like new cars. Josh, and thank you, Josh, for always being here. I can always count on you for tuning in. So thank you, Josh. Hey, Zach, can't wait to see the new Land Rover Defender on the road. I think it'll be a hit. I love the front bench seat. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I mean, it doesn't, to me, scream Defender. Defender is a body on frame like a tractor. I don't know. It's Defender in name. I don't know. I'm glad you like it because they're going to sell it to someone. And I haven't driven it, so I got to wait on that. Eric V, greetings from Mississauga, the city with no downtown. I always joke, Mr. and Mississauga, their downtown's a mall. That's okay. And I know Toronto very well. I grew up in Toronto. I was a courier in Toronto for years. I know the city very well. Choosing between, this is a good question. Choosing between the Q3, the XC40, the RDX, and the GLB. No kids, wife and I share the car. Well, the world is your oyster. These are some fantastic choices. I would suggest that I would say the Q3, the XC40, and I went through this the other day. Yeah, the GLB. The RDX has had some teething problems with reliability. So we'll put that one on pause from now. I love the way it drives, and they did a very good job with it, but put that on pause from now. In my opinion, it's between the Q3, the XC40, and the GLB. Of those, I like the Q3 the best. I think the XC40 is probably the most clever interior design of a car I've driven in a long, long time. The interior is fantastic, and the turbocharged four-cylinder engine is good. It's not the turbo and supercharged engine that you get in the bigger Volvos, which is fine because I think it does a very good job. And the GLB that we just reviewed on the channel a week ago, I really enjoyed driving, and I thought it drove very well. I am not totally enamored with the looks of it from every angle. Some angles look pretty good. Excuse me. I think that I think it's between the Q3 and the XC40. I'm going to throw one in there that you probably might shake your head at, and that's the Cadillac XT4. That's another vehicle I was really surprised, and I thought they did a pretty good job with it. But yeah, those are three excellent, put it this way, there's no wrong answer. So the Q3, in my opinion, I think is the best all-rounder. It just is. I think they did a great job. It's got a great engine, a proven drivetrain, great platform, nicely executed, good styling, all of that kind of stuff. And the only thing I'll say is a knock against the XC40 is Volvo's reliability record isn't as high as Audi. So that may be something to think about. Paul Lindo, my brother-in-law claimed BMW B58 is the best six-cylinder now on the planet. Do you agree? I don't know all my naming. I'm going to look it up right now. BMW B58 engine. Which engine is that? Is that the 3.5? Inline six-cylinder to 3-liter. That's what I figured, but which one is it? Began production in 2000. Yes, I would agree with that. I would agree wholeheartedly. Let me go back to this. Where was I? I've lost my train of thought here. So I don't know all of my all of the names of all of the different engines off the top of my head. I used to, but the thing is, you can't remember everything for every brand. But yes, I think that the inline six-cylinder engines that BMW uses in their cars are some of the best. In fact, the delineation is between the new batch, that have almost 400 horsepower and the old ones that have 335. And that was the engine that was put in the Supra from BMW. And then the Z4 got the new higher performance engine. I think I prefer the older engine. That's the B58 that you refer to. And I think it has been the best engine that's been around for many years. I've always said, if you've never driven BMW with an inline six-cylinder, especially if you can get it in a smaller vehicle like an X3 or a 3 Series, fantastic. Hey Zach, how are you? Just wondering if you had a chance to drive the new Tesla SUV. I hear it's pretty fast. You can get a good distance on 300 to 400 miles, something like that. Well, as I mentioned, if anybody has Model Y, let me know. I'd love to drive it. If you wouldn't mind lending it to me for an hour or two, we could do a review on it. But yeah, Tesla has got a formula and they're executing brilliantly on it. Thanks for the streams. I heard you mention something recently on a video to the effect that Quebec market getting more manuals than the rest of Canada. Can we expect that to continue? Well, the unfortunate thing is that when car companies bring manuals for those that want them, and here's the reality is that you have a couple of things at play with the Quebec market. One is price. Quebecers are much more sensitive to price than other parts of the country. And then the other part is the cultural thing, which is the more European, I want to drive my own car and shift gears. So what you have is a lot of brands bring in their entry-level base model with a manual, and that's the only one they sell it with. So you get the stripped-down car with not much in it and a manual transmission, which seems to work in Quebec because that suits both of those thought processes. Fun to drive, manual transmission, and less expensive. However, you move it outside of the province of Quebec, people want more stuff in their car. It's just a function of how much money people spend on cars. Quebecers spend less money on cars typically than they do in other parts of the country. But I would expect that brands are going to commit to bringing in those base model, entry-level manual transmissions for as long as they can for the foreseeable future. But there will get to a point where it's just not worth it financially for them to continue. So there you go. That's the best answer I can give you. I'm patiently waiting for the new Mark 8 Golf R, but I keep eyeing the new A4. We will only carry young kids in the car occasionally as the wife takes them in the SUV most of the time. Any advice? Thanks. I think that the new Golf R, from what I understand, speaking to Thomas Tetzlaff, who has seen the car, he didn't tell me anything other than it's pretty awesome looking. And they always have more power than less power. That's a hell of a car. The thing is, I'm with you. I think the A4 is a good all-around car, which is back to that Q3 I was talking about. That sort of base, sort of what they do at Audi with those cars is really good. It's really just a great all-rounder. I drove it recently in northern Italy, of all places, where the worst of this pandemic is taking effect. We were in Bolzano in northern Italy, and that's where it's getting clobbered with this virus up in that part of the world. Yeah, we drove the new A4 there, and I got to tell you, and it'd been a while since I'd driven it, and I drove it, and I was like, this is a good car. It's a really good car. So yeah, here's what you could do. You could go and get a short-term, say, lease on an A4 for a couple of years, and then the new Golf R will be out by then, and then you could maybe swap over if you really wanted to. How does the new Q7 stack up with the Mercedes GLE or the BMW X5? Well, those are both brand new cars. The GLE and the X5 both just arrived last year. So you've got a newer product in the marketplace. What the Q7 has is it has an updated head unit that they brought in. That was the big introduction, and some other minor tweaks. They did a facelift on the car. I don't know if you noticed, but they did. Very modest. I was invited to go to Ireland last summer and drive it, but couldn't go. It was our anniversary. It was last July. So of course I did the right thing and stayed home. Brownie points for me. Yeah, the Q7 is older than those two. However, I think it's probably better suited as a three-row utility. It has more of that sort of functionality already baked into it. I think the GLE and the X5 are better as two-row utilities. I think the Q7 stacks up really nicely as an alternative to the X7, say, and the GLS for a lot less money. But as with many of these things, when you're looking at cars of that price point, there kind of is no wrong answer. Fun to drive factor, X5 hands down. That engine with the inline six-cylinder, as I referenced earlier, and the way they put this new X5 together, hands down, is the nicest. The GLE, especially if you get it with the air suspension, is the softest, too soft for my taste, and the Q7 is kind of like that Goldilocks right in the middle. Paul says, do you think the Infiniti VC turbo engine is a failure? Asking because BMW regular four-cylinder is more powerful and better fuel economy. When the variable compression engine was introduced last year, and then they married it to a continuously variable transmission, so the compression of the engine varies as it drives, and then you add that to the CVT. I just thought to myself, whoa, pump the brakes. That's a whole lot going on of technology for a vehicle, and I'm a real wait and see on that engine. That's what I say. I'd like to see it proven for a lot of years before I would commit my money to buy the first variable compression engine in the marketplace. That's all I can say. Hi, Zach. Would you buy a Golf R or a stick? Would you buy a Golf R in stick or DSG? Me personally, I would buy with a stick. Hands down, no problem. I love driving manual. I think I'm pretty good at it. I can heel and toe downshift and all that kind of stuff. I like that. However, if I was sharing it with my wife, there's not a chance in hell it would have a stick. It would have to be a DSG. So it comes down to what you need it for. What I like and what you like and what you need it for are two totally different things. Are you stuck in a lot of traffic all the time? Is it something you can live with, the clutch on and off, bumper to bumper traffic? I don't know what you do with the car. So really think long and hard about that. If it was me, it would be stick. Brian says, hey, Zach, just to let you know, you're the only car reviews channel that I'm subscribed. Well, that's awesome. Thank you. By the way, I know you love the Audi e-tron, but do you think the Mustang what do you think of the Mustang Mach-E? Well, I think that the Mustang Mach-E is a very interesting car. I mean, I think it's really quite unique, and I think that, you know, kudos to Ford for doing it. Everything's on pause. You know, the Mach-E, the new Bronco, you know, the Toyota RAV4 Prime, like everything is in neutral. And when the car industry decides to tap that down and put us into drive and let us get back out there and test these things, I don't know what to say. I mean, virtual releases and showing cars and talking about them is one thing. Actually touching, feeling, driving is totally something else. I think that the GT trim of that car looks pretty good. I think they did a pretty good job with the styling. And if you look at the Mach-E and you look at the Tesla Model Y, which in profile have actually kind of a similar shape, but the execution of the Mustang, in my opinion, is better. I just like the more aggressive styling on it. Hey, Zach, everything's already shut down here in New Brunswick due to COVID-19. I know. I mean, where are we going with this? I don't know. I'm not really one to agree with Donald Trump, but I mean, is the cure going to be worse than the disease? I mean, you're going to have tens of thousands of people going bankrupt and businesses going under. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, it's a hell of a thing that we're living through, and I don't know when you pull off the gas and say, okay, we're going to start working again. I don't know what that is. Is that months from now? I don't know. Any idea why Honda went with the 2-liter turbo or the old V6? Their performance numbers are almost the same and MPGs are rated the same. I love the simplicity of the V6. Well, if you love the simplicity of the V6, go buy a Camry, because they will sell you a V6 Camry. I think it comes down to the combination of the engine and transmission. And also, you've got to remember, the Acura RDX has always been sort of an Accord-based car, and that has a 2-liter turbo with the 10-speed automatic transmission for simplicity's sake. So it's almost why they had to go to the 2-liter turbo. If you look at the cadence of the two cars, whatever engine driveline was in the Accord was the high-end trim was in the RDX. And that has always kind of been the case, except for the original turbo. But I think that's probably what it is, a manufacturing thing. I heard that the next C63 will have a 4-cylinder. Tell me it's not true, especially with Mercedes now have inline 6. It might be a it wouldn't be called a C63, but I could see the V8 going. Absolutely. Look at what BMW has done with their M cars with twin turbo 6 cylinders. I think I wouldn't doubt it for a nanosecond that the next AMG C, whatever it's going to be called, will probably have a twin turbo V6. Hi Zach, thanks for answering my question. I always wish you and Andrea the best in health and safety. I will always support your channel by liking, sharing to friends. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. Is it a bad theory? And it's a bad theory and results in 2 million dead in the United States. I don't know. You know, I don't think that we're going to see 2 million dead in the United States if we let this pandemic run its course. Today, with having the big spike that they're talking about, I don't see 2 million. But anyway, we are sheltering people in place so that the infections don't go out of control and overload the medical system. Look at Italy. I understand that. What I'm saying is, I'm not sure when you decide to come out from under the covers. I don't know when that is. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying there is a theory. There's another theory. I'm not saying I condone it, but I'm just saying there is another theory. Why do you think the Mazda CX-9 is a slow seller? I don't think it is. If you look at the sales, in Canada anyway, having a look at the numbers recently, I think that it's one of the bright spots for them. The CX-5 and the CX-9 have been selling well. Now, they're not doing Honda Pilot, Toyota Highlander numbers, but it is a sort of a bright spot for them and holding them up, and holding them up in terms of sales. I think one of the things is it is maybe the most functional when it comes to interior space as some of its direct competitors, and that might be one of the only reasons why. Tom says, hey Zach, thank you so much for the answer. Love your live sessions. Which car would you go for? 2023 series or 2020 A4? Also your thoughts on the BMW i4 concept. BMW i4 concept was the full electric car they showed virtually around the Geneva Motor Show. I think it's like the only real sort of Tesla fighter that they've really been able to bring to market. They let their i program stagnate, in my opinion. They brought the i8 and the i3 out and kind of did nothing with it. Same thing with Nissan with the Leaf. They brought out the Leaf and they never did anything else. Like, why isn't there a Nissan Leaf-based utility like a Qashqai size or Nissan Rogue Sport size electric? I don't understand that. Why these car companies, well, I know why, because they couldn't make any money at it. That's why. So which would it be between the 3 Series and the A4? On looks, I don't think that the 2020 A4 is as nice looking as the 2019. I would choose a 2019 A4. Now, you're talking about the A4 with the turbo 4-cylinder and the 3 Series with the turbo 4-cylinder. I would probably go A4. But if I could up the ante and go between an S4 and the 340 with the BMW, it would be the 340 because of that inline 6-cylinder is just fantastic. But yeah, there's certain things about the 2020 A4 with the design, with the update, that I'm not as enamored with as the last model. Does Car Cost Canada give more give more than information? Do dealers make offers? Okay, so it's a good question. Car Cost Canada, sign up, go there. This will also help me out because they're a sponsor of the channel. If we get more people signing up, it'll look like I'm doing something for them. So go and sign up at carcostcanada.com. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH. It's going to open up more searches for you. So when you type in, we'll use the last example, Audi A4. You're going to be able to see any incentives on the car. You're going to be able to see any discounts. Or first of all, you're going to be able to see what the dealer paid. That's very powerful to know, okay? So you get to see what the invoice the dealer paid for the car. Then you're going to see any discounts on the car. You're going to see any incentives, meaning like lower interest rates. And there's some secret incentives that you're maybe not aware of that go into Car Cost Canada that you probably wouldn't even be aware there. Maybe a first-time buyer. If you're a senior, you might get a discount. If you're a student, you might get a discount. All of these things are available to you. Now, you can contact them. They have a customer number. If you do not want to deal with a dealership, they will get in touch with a preferred dealer that deals with them and says, hey, we got a live one on the line. Somebody wants an Audi A4 and they've used our service, and can we help broker a deal? They will do that for you. So it saves you going in with the information saying, well, I know what you paid for the car and I want to get it for free. You're not going to get the car for free. The dealer's got to make some money, but they can help facilitate that for you. Josh says, although it's extremely outdated, I love my Infiniti Q50 with a 300 horsepower turbo. Do you think the standard A4 and C-Class engines are comparable even though they are 4 cylinders? Yes, I do. I find that 6-cylinder, even though it's a turbo and all of that, I do get it. The way it's calibrated is a bit, I don't want to, Josh, I don't want to insult you, but it's a bit lazy in its execution and how it works. You know, what you get with the turbocharged engines is a bit more of the snap that you get when you put your foot in and you get that surge and feel. And that's what you're getting with those turbo smaller engines. The 6-cylinder that you have with your car, with the way it's calibrated, doesn't seem to have the same kind of snap. And that's why I think that, and they're lighter. That's the other thing is, like the perfect example is I really do like the feel of the Audi A4 with the turbo 4-cylinder. It's just a really nice, tossable, fun to drive car, and it feels more energetic. But yeah, the Q50, I liked it. I go back on the channel and look up my first review of the Q50. I was a real outlier. I really liked it. And a lot of people were like, what are you talking about? I don't like this car at all. I thought it was a great car. Hey, Zach, can you do a review of the Challenger RT 5.7 V8 2020? Not many of those around. Steve Parsons. Is that Steve Parsons, who I used to work with in radio? I hope so. Zach, love your channel. I'm subscribed. Could you provide sales numbers for the top 10 cars and trucks in Canada? Maybe try Patreon. I have never done Patreon. What do you guys think of that? Be honest. Type in there right now. If I asked you to be a Patreon of the channel, would you say yes or no? I don't know. I've always resisted it and thought maybe it was, I don't know. I hate asking. That's the thing. I just asking people for something. I just wonder if people are open to that. I don't know. You know, spending a few bucks a month to keep the channel going would be nice, but yeah. Okay, top 10 sales of cars in Canada. I'm going to do a quick little search. I'm going to bring up DesRosiers Consultants and see if I can find it right now for you. COVID-19, March 2020, automotive year end, February sales, top 10 sales. Usually he gets sends it out every month. All right, here we go. I get this sent out, and it breaks down all of the different brands and who's selling more and who's selling less. Does he give me the top 10? You know what? I'll do it for another time. I do have the information, but I appreciate that's a good idea. I can give you sort of the top 5. It's not that hard to do. You've got the pickup trucks are 1, 2, 3. You've got F-150, Ram, from what I believe, has taken over number 2 spot, and then you've got the Chevy and GMC trucks that are number 3. Then you've got the RAV4, and then you've got the CRV. Then you've got, what would be after that? Another utility, compact utility. It might be Hyundai. So there's your sort of top 6 or 7, and then it starts to filter in from there. But that's the bulk of sales. Do you think Mazda's push for premium products will end up like VW's in the 90s and the 2000s? Eventually, VW had to offer more affordable cars. It's a really good question, and one that I've kind of wondered if this is the wisest move on their part. Well, now that we're heading into who knows what, it's going to be interesting to see if they keep it up. I still think there is a place for people to buy a car that has premium features that isn't a premium brand, so long as they continue to sell the mainline cars that people can afford. Now, the one brand I believe, and I've kind of heard this from insiders, that Mazda looks to, and a lot of the psychographics of the people who cross-shop with each other, these two brands are cross-shopped, is Volkswagen. And Volkswagen has, in some instances, been able to apply a premium to their cars, not like they did with the Phaeton years ago and W10 Volkswagen Touareg TDIs, nothing like that. But they do have a spread in the Volkswagen lineup, and there are people that will pay more for a GTI or a Golf R or those sorts of things, and Mazda's trying to move their brand into the same sort of mindset and differentiate themselves and break away from the rest of the pack, offering more, but people willing to pay more. So maybe the philosophy is that they don't make as much, they don't have as many transactions, but each transaction is more profitable for the company. That might be the philosophy. But a lot of people who shop for Volkswagens do shop for Mazdas, and they have a sort of similar kind of appeal. People will spend a little bit more for those cars if they feel like they're getting value. Not to the crazy extent they did in the 90s and the 2000s, and they had to roll way back on that. I remember, was it the Mark 6 GTI that had the VR6? It was really plush and soft and not that great to drive. Yeah, so they went too far with all of that. It's interesting to watch. For a lease of 4 years, would you buy a Mazda 3 GS sedan or a Volkswagen Golf 2020 Highline? Comes down to what you want. If you're looking at a hatch versus a sedan, there's no wrong answer here. Both of them have, in my opinion, fairly nice interiors. I would suggest the Golf is a little bit more simple and not drab, but very clean and simple. The Mazda has a more plush feel on the inside, but you're talking about sort of a mid-grade Mazda with a Highline Golf. I don't think there's any wrong answer here. I suggest you drive them both and see which one you like. The Golf has independent rear suspension. The next one will not. If that's something you want to consider, they're actually same thing again. Mazda, Volkswagen. You see the parallel we're getting here? I say you pick the one you like better and what fits your lifestyle better. And which one is going to give you the better deal at carcostcanada.com. So can Nissan move, or will it leave the US, or can it move forward with Infiniti after this ends? From what I understand, they've got a lot of new stuff in the pipeline. And the way they're going to get out of this is product, 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 to quote Dennis DeRosier, who I was looking up a moment ago. You really do need to bring your brand forward by introducing vehicles that people are willing to buy. If you just continue to rehash your old vehicles and not have anything new, you will fail. Infiniti, if they do not bring out new vehicles that compete, look at Genesis and what they're able to do with their cars. And they're new and fresh and exciting, and there's a lot of buzz around them. That's what they're up against. So yes, they need to bring product, product, product. If they do that, they can survive. I think Nissan isn't going away. Infiniti is a question mark though. Are you a fan of the last GS 350 F Sport? I'm trying to decide between that or the TLX. If it's a GS 350 F Sport or the TLX, hands down the GS. GS is a really nice car. And it's a rare car, and nice handling, beautiful interior. Oh my God, the interior of that car is fantastic. So if it's between those two, hands down, I think the GS 350 F Sport all day long over the TLX. Great content, Zach. Thanks for your reviews. For a fun manual transmission weekend track car, would you prefer 718 GT4 or Carrera T? Oh, these are tough questions. If it's just straight power you're after, I think that the GT4 is going to be a sharper car. But for just sheer fun, for shits and giggles, I think that the Carrera T is a great car. If you can get one, I would. And I think it's going to be a collectible car in the future. I really do. I think that is such a unique, fun car. I drove it on the track at Motorsport, or the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, on the track, and we had it with the full lineup of sports cars from Porsche that day, and it was a real shining star in my opinion. I think that, same thing again. There's no wrong answer. They're both great. If you're just out for straight horsepower, go GT4. If you're looking for a great, well-balanced car that's different, and you won't see really another one on the road, and does handle incredibly well, the Carrera T would be a fantastic choice. All right? Well, we are up against the clock, my friends. If I didn't get to you, don't worry. I read all of the questions, and I'm going to do this 3 times a week. I'm thinking the next one will probably be Thursday. Today's Tuesday. So back in a few days. Once again, to me, please get your friends to subscribe. That's the best thing you can do to keep everything going. And there's been some pretty dire news in the auto industry over the last little while, and personally here in the last couple of days. So anything helps. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you here in a couple of days. Take care.